In 30 years running hotel operations aboard cruise ships, I watched passengers over 60 walk away from perks worth an average of $340 per sailing. Perks they'd already earned and never claimed, not because the perks didn't exist, because nobody told them to ask. That stops right now. My name is Thomas Ashford. I spent 3 decades as a hotel director on cruise ships. Dining, cabins, upgrades, billing disputes, guest services, all of it ran through my department. I've seen the inside of this industry from the crew side, not from a travel blog, not from a comparison website, from the desk where the decisions actually get made. And now that I don't have an employer to protect, I can tell you what active crew members can't. What I'm walking you through today aren't loopholes. There's services and accommodations already built into the system. Guest services officers know about every single one of them. We process them on every sailing. The cruise lines simply don't advertise them because a service announced is a service that costs money. If you're over 60 and you've cruised more than twice, there's a reasonable chance you already qualify for most of what I'm about to share. You're just not claiming it. By the time we get to perk number 7, most people watching this are going to feel a real frustration that they didn't know sooner. And number 9 is the one I was never supposed to explain to a passenger. A discounted fare that exists the whole time and never once appears on the website. Stay with me, because by the end you'll know all 11 and the exact words to claim each one, starting with the next sailing you book. If that's the kind of inside knowledge you want before you cruise again, subscribing is the only way the next one reaches you. Now the first perk starts before you ever reach the gangway. Perk number 1, priority embarkation, triggered by a single sentence. Most passengers over 60 stand in the general boarding queue for anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes on embarkation day. What they don't realize is that mobility accommodations, and those include comfort-based accommodations, not just medical ones, move you out of that line entirely. If you have tired legs after travel, if the terminal walk is taxing, if you're managing luggage in a companion, you qualify. No diagnosis, no documentation. You tell the check-in desk you'd like to request mobility assistance for embarkation. They process it, and you board ahead of general boarding with your travel companion. I watched a 67-year-old retired principal from Georgia stand in a terminal queue for over an hour on a summer sailing. She was fully mobile. She simply didn't know the accommodation existed. When she came to my desk on day 1 with a complaint about the wait, I showed her the request she could have made at check-in. She looked at me like I'd told her the ship had a secret deck. So here's what you say at the check-in counter. I'd like to request a mobility comfort accommodation for embarkation. That phrase goes into the system differently than asking for a wheelchair. It flags you for assisted boarding without requiring medical documentation. Write that phrase down. It's worth 45 minutes of your day every sailing. Now, once you're on board, here's where most passengers lose money without realizing it. Perk number 2, complimentary specialty dine-in nights you've already earned. If you've cruised a line more than once, there's a strong probability you're sitting inside a loyalty tier that includes free specialty restaurant dinners, not discounted. Complimentary on most major lines. Mid-tier and upper-tier loyalty members receive between 1 and 3 free specialty dining nights per sailing, and most passengers redeem 0 of them. The loyalty benefit booklet is a 14-page document folded into your welcome packet, and almost nobody reads past page 2. The cruise line is not going to remind you at dinner. So go to guest services within the first 4 hours of embarkation and ask them to print your loyalty benefit summary. Here's what you say. and you print my full loyalty benefit summary and confirm which specialty dining credits are active for this voyage. That single conversation has saved passengers. I've watched more than $120 in a week. Here's one that compounds directly off what I just told you, and most passengers leave this money on the table before they ever step off the ship. Perk number 3. Free or reduced shore excursions through loyalty tiers. Upper loyalty tiers on most major lines include complimentary shore excursion credits, anywhere from $50 to $200 per person per sailing, depending on your status. But these credits are applied at the excursion desk, not automatically. You have to present yourself, identify your tier, and request the credit before you book. If you book through the ship's app or online in advance, that credit may not apply at all. You may pay full price and lose it. A 71-year-old retired engineer from North Carolina booked 3 shore excursions online before his sailing. He had top-tier loyalty status. He paid full price for all 3 because the website didn't apply his excursion credits. He came to me on day 4. By then, 2 of the excursions were already completed, and the window for a retroactive adjustment had closed. $190 gone. None of that had to happen. So book excursions at the shore excursion desk on board. Identify your tier first, then book. Here's what you say. I'm a loyalty member at the upper tier. I'd like to confirm my excursion credits before I book anything. Here's one that hits passengers on disembarkation morning when it's already too late to fix. Perk number 4. The loyalty minibar and the beverage credit almost nobody requests. On several major lines, mid-tier and upper loyalty members receive a complimentary stocked minibar, refreshed once per sailing, plus a non-alcoholic beverage package credit. Some tiers include full beverage package discounts of 20 to 30%. None of this is prominently listed in your room materials. The minibar may arrive stocked automatically, but the beverage credit will not activate unless you claim it at guest services. I've watched passengers come to my desk on disembarkation morning asking why they were charged full price for beverages all week. When I pulled up their account and their loyalty tier, the discount was sitting right there, unclaimed, expired. So here's what you say when you arrive on board. I'd like to confirm and activate any beverage credits or minibar benefits attached to my loyalty tier. Do this on day 1, not day 5. Here's where it shifts, because the next 2 involve something sitting in your cabin right now that you've probably already paid to ignore. Perk number 5. The complimentary upgrade conversation that happens at check-in. Cruise lines hold inventory. On most sailings, there are cabins that didn't sell, and those cabins are available for complimentary or deeply reduced upgrades at the check-in desk and at guest services on embarkation day. Loyalty status is the primary trigger, but the upgrade doesn't get offered. It gets requested. I've seen balcony cabins go to inside cabin passengers on embarkation day simply because they walked up and asked. And I've seen those same cabins sit empty for 7 days because nobody did. Here's what you say at check-in or at guest services within the first 2 hours on board. I know my booking is confirmed, but if any unsold balcony or ocean view cabins are available for a complimentary or reduced upgrade, I'd love to be considered. That's it. Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes you just move to a balcony. Perk number 6. Complimentary laundry service that disappears if you don't claim it. Loyalty members at mid and upper tiers receive complimentary laundry bags per sailing. Typically 1 to 2 bags, each holding roughly 20 items. On a 7-day sailing, that's $60 to $80 in laundry you don't pay. On a 14-day voyage, it's significantly more. But the bags are not automatically delivered on most lines. You request them from housekeeping on day 1 or 2. Ask on day 5, and you've already lost half the value. Here's what you say to your cabin steward. On the first afternoon, I'm a loyalty member and I'd like to claim my complimentary laundry bags for this sailing. They'll bring them. You're done. Now here's a perk that goes well beyond comfort. And it's the one most 60-plus passengers overlook entirely. This is the one I told you was coming. Perk number 7, medical and mobility accommodations that aren't just for disabilities. Requesting accessibility accommodations aboard a cruise ship does not require a disability. If you take medications that require refrigeration, you're entitled to a medical refrigerator unit in your cabin at no charge. If you have any mobility consideration at all, joint discomfort, balance concerns, fatigue from walking distances, you can request a quieter cabin location, dedicated seating in the main theater and dining room, and priority tender access at ports where the ship anchors offshore. These are not favors. They're built-in accommodations. The cruise line won't offer them. You have to request them. A 74-year-old retired pharmacist from Tennessee managed her insulin on a 10-day Caribbean sailing by keeping it in the cabin minibar, which ran inconsistently. She didn't know she could request a dedicated medical refrigerator through guest services at no cost. Her medication management that entire voyage was compromised by a fact she didn't know. Here's what you say at guest services. I have medications that require consistent refrigeration. I'd like to request a medical refrigerator unit for my cabin. They'll place the request. There's no charge. It happened on ships I ran every single week. Here's the one that created more frustration at my desk than almost anything else, because by the time most passengers discovered it, the window was already closed. Perk number 8, onboard credit stacking that can cut your effective cruise costs substantially. Every cruise line has an onboard booking desk. When you book your next sailing while you're still on board, you receive a future cruise credit, an onboard credit applied to the next voyage, typically between $100 and $300 per stateroom, depending on length and category. Here's what most passengers don't know. That future cruise credit with loyalty onboard credit, with casino free play credits, and in many cases, with early booking promotional credits. They stack. Within the cruise line's own policies, combining the credits available to you can pull what you actually spend on a 7-day cruise well below the brochure price. I watched a 66-year-old retired couple from Arizona work this correctly on a 12-night Mediterranean sailing. They booked their next voyage at the onboard desk and combined their upper-tier loyalty credit, their future cruise deposit credit, and a casino promotional offer. Their next cruise, a 7-night Caribbean sailing, cost them $340 out of pocket for 2 people. Retail was over $2,800. None of that was a scam. None of it was a loophole. It was the system working exactly as designed for the passengers who knew how to use it. Here's what you say at the onboard booking desk. I'd like to understand every combinable credit available to me as a loyalty member before I place a deposit. I want to see all the stackable offers on the table. Tell them your tier. Tell them you're not in a hurry. They will walk you through it. Write that down. That conversation is worth real money. Here's the one I was never supposed to explain to a passenger sitting across from my desk. This is number 9, and I told you it was coming, too. Perk number 9, the past guest rate. It does not appear on the website, ever. Every major cruise line maintains a past guest rate for repeat customers, a discounted fare filed in their reservation system exclusively for passengers who've sailed with them before. It is not visible on the public website. It does not appear on comparison engines. It exists only when you call the reservation line, identify yourself as a past guest, and specifically ask whether a past guest rate is filed on your sailing. A 69-year-old retired attorney from Virginia booked a 10-night sailing online for $2,140 per person. 2 weeks before departure, her neighbor who'd cruised the same line 6 times mentioned calling and asking about the past guest rate. She called. The agent quoted her $1,780 per person for the identical cabin on the identical sailing. She saved $360 per person, $720 total. A 4-minute phone call. The agent she originally booked with didn't volunteer it. The website didn't show it. It existed the entire time, so do not ask, do you have a discount for repeat customers? That gets a vague answer. Say this exactly. I'm a past guest. Is there a past guest rate filed on this itinerary that isn't showing on the public website? That specific language pulls the fare code from the system. Perk number 10. The port arrival early access request most passengers don't know exists. On port days where the ship is docked, there's typically a window, usually 30 to 45 minutes before the general disembarkation queue opens, during which passengers with mobility accommodations or loyalty status can request priority tender or gangway access. You're ashore earlier, you have more time in port, and you're not standing in a corridor with hundreds of other passengers waiting for zone assignments. You request this the evening before, at guest services or through your cabin steward. Here's what you say. I'd like to request priority port access for tomorrow's arrival as a loyalty member. They'll add you to the early access list. You're off the ship while most passengers are still finding their shoes. Perk number 11. The medical billing adjustment most passengers never attempt. Ship medical centers charge at a rate that surprises most passengers. A consultation for a minor issue, seasickness, a small cut, a sinus complaint, can run $100 to $200 for a visit that lasts under 10 minutes. What almost no one knows is that guest services has discretion to adjust medical charges when the treatment was minimal, and the charge is disproportionate. Now, this does not work for serious medical events, but for a minor treatment where the bill feels fundamentally disconnected from the service received, you can request a review. Here's what you say at guest services. I understand the medical center has set rates, but this was a brief consultation for a minor issue. I'd like to request a service recovery review on this charge. That specific phrase, service recovery review, puts it in the right category. I approved adjustments on those requests regularly over 30 years. Now you have all 11, but knowing them changes nothing if you don't claim them. So here's exactly when each one happens. Before you book, call the reservation line, identify as a past guest, and ask for the past guest rate. On embarkation day, request your loyalty benefit summary in writing within the first 4 hours. Activate your beverage credits. Ask for your laundry bags. During the sailing, book your next voyage at the onboard desk and stack every combinable credit available. Request port priority access the night before each port day. And if the medical center charges you something that doesn't match the treatment, request a service recovery review before you disembark. Here's what this is really about, and it's bigger than the money. You earned this cruise. You worked for the retirement that paid for it. You saved for the cabin. You're the most loyal guest the ship has, and the quietest passenger on board is the one the system is counting on. Claiming what's already yours isn't asking for a favor. It's walking up that gangway as the guest who knows exactly what they're owed, instead of the one who finds out on disembarkation morning what it costs to stay silent. That's the whole difference. And now you're on the right side of it. So tell me down in the comments, which of these 11 did you never know about, and how many cruises have you taken without claiming it? I read every single one, and the ones that surprise people most are the ones I dig deeper on next. And next time, I'm going into the charges that quietly land on almost every final cruise bill, including one that costs the average couple over $200 a week and is completely optional, though the ship will never once call it that. It's the natural next step after this one. Until then, call before you book, ask for the past guest rate by name, and remember, on a cruise ship, the perk you don't claim is simply the perk they get to keep. If someone you know has a cruise booked and hasn't heard any of this, send it to them before they board.